There's something about nighttime that strips everything away. The noise fades. The screens go dark. The to-do lists stop pretending they matter. And you're left with just yourself. And sometimes that's the hardest place to be. Maybe tonight you came here because sleep won't come easy. Maybe your mind keeps circling back to something you said, something you didn't say, something you're afraid of, something you've been carrying so long you've forgotten what it felt like to put it down. Or maybe, and I want you to stay with this thought for just a moment, maybe you came here because somewhere, underneath all that noise, there's a part of you that still believes that you are not alone in this, still believes that there is something, someone who sees you in the dark. You didn't end up here by accident tonight. And the only thing I want you to do right now is this. Breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Let the day be what it was. Because tonight, we're going to sit together inside the oldest stories ever told. Stories that have carried people through wars, through grief, through sleepless nights just like this one. His word is still here, and so are you. That's enough to begin. Before we open the first story, I want to pray with you. Not a formal prayer. Not the kind you recite from memory because someone told you that's the right way to do it. I mean a real one. The kind that comes from somewhere tired and honest inside you. The kind where you don't have to perform, don't have to sound spiritual, don't have to get the words exactly right. God already knows what you meant to say. So let's just begin. Lord, it's been a long day. For most of us listening right now, it's been a long season. And we come to you tonight not with answers, not with neat and tidy faith, but with the weight of being human. With the exhaustion that doesn't always go away after one good night of sleep. With questions we've stopped asking out loud because we got tired of waiting for an answer. But here we are, still here, still turning to you. And I think that counts for something. I think you see that. Tonight, Lord, we're asking for something simple. We're not asking for miracles right now, though we know you are more than capable. We're not asking you to fix everything by morning. We're just asking for this. Let this hour be a shelter. Let your word be the thing that slows our breathing down. Let the stories of people who walked through fire and flood and grief and doubt, people who were afraid and confused and sometimes angry at you, let those stories remind us that we are not the first to feel this way, and we will not be the last. But you were with them. Every single one. You were with Abraham when he left everything he knew and walked into a land he'd never seen, trusting a voice he could not explain to anyone around him. You were with him in the dark between the stars when you told him his descendants would be as countless as what he saw above him. He was old. His wife was old. And he believed you anyway. Lord, for the person listening tonight who has been waiting a long time, who has been holding on to a promise so long that it started to feel like foolishness, would you breathe a little of Abraham's stubborn, quiet faith into them tonight? Not the dramatic kind, not the kind that needs an audience, just the kind that whispers in the dark. He said it, and that's enough. You were with Moses when he stood at the edge of a sea with an army behind him and no way forward. He didn't have a plan. He had a staff and a God, and you parted the water. Lord, for the person tonight who feels hemmed in, who cannot see a way through what's in front of them, remind them of that moment. Remind them that the miracle came at the water's edge, not before, not from a safe distance. At the very edge. Sometimes you wait until we've run out of options so that we know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that what happened next was you. You were with David, imperfect, passionate, broken David, who danced before you and sinned against you and wept before you and wrote psalms to you in the dead of night, who knew what it was to feel far from you, who cried out, "My God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And you never left him. Lord, for the person who feels like they've failed too many times to come back, who is embarrassed by the gap between who they are and who they want it to be. Let David's story be their permission tonight. You don't require perfection. You never have. And Lord, tonight, as we settle into your word and let it wash over us, let it do the work that we cannot do for ourselves. Slow us down. Quiet the thoughts that have no business keeping us awake. Hold us the way a parent holds a child who has had a bad dream, without explanation, without lecture, just held. We are tired, Lord, and you knew we would be. So you said, "Come unto me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28, we're coming, right now. We're coming. Amen. There is a reason the Psalms have survived thousands of years, not because they are polished, not because they are theologically precise or carefully constructed arguments for faith. They survived because they are honest, because they sound like someone who couldn't sleep, someone who was afraid, someone who looked at the sky and needed to know that the sky was looking back. They sound like you. They sound like me. And tonight, I want to read them slowly. Not the way you might hear them read in a ceremony, moving quickly from verse to verse. I want to read them the way they were probably first spoken, quietly, in the dark, with long pauses between each line. As if the words needed room to land, so let them land. Let each one settle somewhere inside you before the next one begins. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Sit with that for a moment. Not, I will probably be okay. Not, things will work out eventually. Not, I should be grateful because others have it worse. I shall not want. That is a declaration made from a place of deep trust. The kind of trust that isn't always loud, that doesn't always feel confident, but it holds. Even when the feeling isn't there, it holds. A shepherd doesn't just lead sheep on the easy days. He leads them through terrain that would terrify them if they were alone. He goes first. He knows the land. He has done this before. You have a shepherd who has done this before. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. There's something tender about that word. Maketh. Sometimes we don't lie down willingly. Sometimes we push through long past when we should have stopped. We answer one more email. We carry one more worry. We stay up rehearsing conversations that already happened or ones that haven't happened yet. And sometimes God, in His mercy, simply makes us stop. Maybe that's what tonight is. Not a failure of willpower. Not a sign that something is wrong. Maybe you are simply being made to lie down. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Still waters. Not rushing, not turbulent, not demanding anything from you, just still. That is where He is leading you right now. Not into more activity, not into more answers, into stillness, into quiet, into the kind of rest that restores something deeper than the body. He restoreth my soul. The soul gets tired too. We talk a lot about the body being tired, about the mind being tired. But there is a weariness that goes deeper than both of those. A kind of emptiness that sleep alone doesn't touch. A dryness that food and rest and distraction cannot reach. That is what this line is speaking to. He restoreth my soul. Not your productivity. Not your performance. Not your ability to show up and be useful tomorrow. Your soul. The part of you that is most essentially, most quietly, most permanently you. He tends to that part too. She leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. For His name's sake. Not because you earned it. Not because you've been consistent enough, faithful enough, good enough. For His name's sake, because it is His nature to lead. Because it is His character to restore. Because the shepherd does not abandon the sheep. Not because the sheep is impressive, but because that is who the shepherd is. Let that settle somewhere tonight. You don't have to earn the leading. You just have to follow. Shay, Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Through, not around, not over, not lifted out before things get hard. Through, the valley is real, the shadow is real, the walking is real, but so is the presence. For thou art with me. That is the whole thing, right there. That is the entire answer to every fear you have carried today, this week, this year. Thou art with me, not ahead of you, waiting on the other side, not behind you, watching from a distance, with you, in the valley, in the shadow, in the hardest part of the hardest night. With you, thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. The staff was used to guide, to gently redirect a wandering sheep back toward the path. And the rod was used to protect, to stand between the sheep and whatever was coming for it in the dark. Both of those are working tonight. Whatever has been pulling you off course, the rod will handle it. Whatever has been threatening you in the dark, the staff will redirect you. You are not without protection. You are not without guidance. You are not alone in this field. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Even in the hard seasons, even surrounded by everything that opposes you. A table, prepared, for you. Not a waiting room, not a holding place. A table, anointed, overflowing. The provision is not withheld because the season is difficult. The abundance is not canceled because the enemies are real. Both things are true at the same time. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. All the days. Not the good ones. Not the days when you feel deserving. All of them. Goodness following you. Mercy following you. Like two quiet companions you didn't know were there, but when you look back, you will see them in every chapter. Every single one. And at the end of all those days, a home. A permanent one. The kind you don't have to worry about losing. His word is still here, and so are you. Let that be enough for right now. Just rest inside that psalm for a few moments before we continue.
You don't have to do anything with it. Just let it be. I want to tell you about a night that changed everything. Not a dramatic night exactly. Not fire from heaven or a parting sea. Just a boat, a storm, and 12 men who thought they were going to die. You probably know the story, but I want you to hear it differently tonight. Not as a lesson, not as a sermon point, just as something that really happened to real people who were just as tired and afraid as you might be right now. It's found in Mark. Chapter 4. Jesus had been teaching all day. Crowds pressing in from every side, people grabbing at him, voices overlapping. The relentless demand of human need pouring toward him without pause. And when evening came, he said something simple. Let us pass over unto the other side. Mark Sidianth Senjerwulfin. That's all. No long explanation. No detailed plan. Just we're going across. Come on. And they got into a boat. Now, several of these men were fishermen. They knew this lake. They had worked it in all kinds of weather. They knew what it could do. And yet, they got in the boat because he said so. Because there was something about the way he said it that made the other side feel possible. And then the storm came. Mark describes it this way. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. Mark 4:37. Full. The boat was filling with water. These experienced fishermen, men who had seen bad weather before, were terrified. The situation had moved past manageable. past fixable, into the territory of, this might be the end. And where was Jesus? And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. Mark Sidianth Senjerbiven, asleep. In the middle of a storm that was sinking the boat, Jesus was asleep on a pillow. I've read that line 100 times, and every time I stop there for a moment, because there are two ways to hear that. The first way is the way the disciples heard it in that moment. They woke him up and they said, "Master, carest thou not that we perish?" Mark 4:38. Do you not care? That is not a theological question. That is a cry from the gut of someone who is drowning. That is the question you ask when the water is rising and the person you trusted most seems completely unaware of what you're going through. Do you not care? I wonder if that question has lived somewhere inside you lately. Not as doubt, exactly, more as a wound, more as something you haven't quite been able to say out loud, because you know you're supposed to trust. You know the right answers, but the water has been rising for a while now, and sometimes it feels like, where is he in this? That question is not a failure of faith. It is faith, raw, honest, desperate faith. The disciples didn't row away. They didn't abandon ship. They went to him. Even in their panic, even in their accusation, they went to him. That matters. And then, the second way to hear that Jesus was asleep. He was asleep in a storm violent enough to terrify professional fishermen, in a boat filling with water, with the wind screaming and the waves crashing and 12 men losing their minds around him. He was asleep because he was not afraid, not because he was indifferent, not because he didn't care, but because he knew something the disciples didn't know in that moment. He knew the storm didn't have the final word. He knew they were going to reach the other side. Remember what he said when they got in the boat. Let us pass over onto the other side. He didn't say, let's try. He didn't say, let's hope the weather holds. He said, we are going to the other side. The storm was loud, but it couldn't change that. And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Mark 4:39. Peace, be still. 2 words, and the storm obeyed. Not gradually, not over time. Immediately, the wind ceased. A great calm settled over the water. And then he turned to them and said, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? Mark 4:40. Now, I don't want you to hear that as a scolding. I want you to hear it as a question asked gently by someone who genuinely wants them to understand something. He's saying, you were with me. You heard me say we were going to the other side. Did you really think the storm was going to cancel what I said? There is something here that I think is worth sitting with tonight.
The storm was real. No one is saying it wasn't. The fear was real. The water in the boat was real. The disciples weren't being dramatic. They were in genuine danger by every human measure. And yet, none of it could change what Jesus had already spoken. Let us pass over unto the other side. Whatever storm has been filling your boat lately, whatever has been coming in over the sides, whatever has been terrifying you in the night, I want to ask you something. What has he already spoken over your life? Not what you feel right now, not what the circumstances look like. What has he said? Because if he said it, the storm cannot cancel it. It can delay your peace. It can shake your confidence. It can wake you up in the middle of the night with your heart racing. But it cannot change what he said. His word is still here. And so are you. You are still in the boat, and he is still in it with you. The other side is still where you're going. Let that be the last thought you hold from this before we continue. Just stop for a moment. Just stop. Picture a room at night. Not a dramatic room. Nothing extraordinary about it. Just a quiet room, somewhere familiar, with a single lamp casting soft light across the floor. Outside, the world is still doing what the world does. Somewhere a car passes slowly down a wet street. Somewhere a dog settles into sleep. Somewhere leaves move without any urgency at all, the way things move when nothing is required of them. In here, though, in this room, everything has slowed down. The blanket is heavy in a good way. The pillow holds the shape of someone who has finally decided to rest. The ceiling above is still and pale and asking nothing of you. You are here. Not in tomorrow. Not replaying today. Just here. And somewhere in this quiet room, without announcement, without fanfare. His word is still here. And so are you. That is enough. That has always been enough. Breathe. Let your hands go loose. Let tonight be the night you don't solve anything. Equals to you. Not to a crowd. Not to everyone who might be listening. Just to you, the one who made it this far tonight. The one who is still here, still breathing, still holding on in whatever way you hold on. I want to say some things slowly, and I just need you to receive them. You don't have to agree with every word right away. You don't have to feel them immediately. Just let them come in like light under a door, quietly, without force. You carried a lot today. More than most people around you probably know. There were moments today when you held yourself together through sheer will, and nobody saw that. Nobody applauded it. It just happened quietly, the way most of the hardest things in a life happen. But it was real. And it cost you something. And it's okay to acknowledge that tonight, here before you sleep. You are not behind. I know it can feel that way. I know there are moments when you measure where you are against where you thought you'd be by now, and the gap feels wider than it should. But that measuring stick was never the right one. It was never his measurement. He is not looking at the gap. He is looking at you, the thing you're worried about, the one that keeps surfacing even when you push it down. You don't have to carry it into sleep tonight. You can set it down, not because it isn't real, not because it doesn't matter, but because the night is not the time for it. The night was made for something else entirely. The night was made for this, for stillness, for breath, for the slow, quiet work that happens in you when you finally stop pushing. Set it down, just for tonight. You can pick it back up tomorrow if you still need it. But I think you'll find, in the morning, that it's lighter than it was. You are not forgotten. I want you to hear that clearly, without decoration, without theological scaffolding around it. You are not forgotten. Not by the God who counted the stars and called them each by name. Not by the God who noticed a sparrow falling. Not by the God who knew you before you were formed and has not stopped knowing you since. You are not a number. You are not a case. You are not a problem to be managed. You are known, fully, quietly, completely. The stories we sat with tonight, Abraham in the dark, Moses at the water's edge, David in his grief, the disciples in the storm. None of them had it figured out. None of them felt ready. None of them felt worthy. And yet, every single one of them was held. So are you. Right now, in this moment, in this room, in this particular tiredness that belongs only to you, you are held. You don't have to be stronger tomorrow than you were today. You just have to show up. That's all that has ever been asked of you. Show up with whatever you have. With however much or however little faith is left in you tonight, He meets you there. He has always met you there. So let your body be heavy now. Let your thoughts slow down the way traffic slows on a quiet road after midnight. Let the song we read together settle into the deeper parts of you. The parts that don't need words, the parts that just know. Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days, even this one, even the hard ones, even the ones where you weren't sure you were going to make it through. His word is still here, and so are you. That is not a small thing. That is everything. You did enough today. You are enough. You can rest now. I want you to know something. This place, this channel, it's here for you. Every night, whenever the quiet gets too loud, whenever the day leaves something heavy behind that you don't quite know what to do with, whenever you need to be still and you can't find stillness anywhere else, you are welcome here. If no one has told you that recently, you are welcome here, exactly as you are, with your doubts and your weariness and your faith that some nights is smaller than you wish it were. If this has been good for you tonight, subscribe to the channel. Come back whenever you need to. And if someone comes to mind right now, someone who could use a quiet place like this, share it with them. That's all. No pressure. Just a quiet act of kindness before you sleep. You don't have to carry tomorrow tonight. Tomorrow has enough of its own. And speaking of carrying things we were never meant to carry, there's something I haven't said yet tonight. Something that has been underneath all of it. Underneath the psalm, underneath the storm on the water, underneath every word of this hour together. It's this. The Bible stories we grew up hearing. We often heard them as lessons, as morals, as things we were supposed to extract and apply and improve ourselves with. And there is a place for that. There is real wisdom in those stories. But tonight, I want to suggest something different. What if the stories weren't primarily given to teach you something? What if they were given to remind you of something you already know, but keep forgetting? Think about what we moved through tonight. Abraham, who waited so long that the waiting itself became the story, who didn't receive the promise quickly or cleanly, or on any timeline that made sense from the outside. And yet the waiting shaped him into someone who could hold what was coming. Moses, who stood at an impossible edge. And the miracle didn't come early. It came at the water, at the last possible moment. Because some things can only be received when there's nothing left to rely on, but the voice that said, "Go forward." David, who wrote his most honest words in his darkest seasons, who didn't clean himself up before coming to God, who came broken and came anyway, and whose psalms, the ones born from the hardest nights, are the ones we still read thousands of years later when we can't sleep. The disciples, who were with Jesus in the storm and still thought they were going to die, who had to be reminded gently that the one who spoke the world into existence was in the boat with them. These were not extraordinary people. That is the whole point. They were tired people, confused people, people who failed and doubted and sometimes completely missed what was right in front of them. And God worked through every single chapter of their lives, not around the hard parts, through them. So whatever chapter you are in right now, and I don't know which one it is, I don't know if you're in an Abraham season of long waiting, or a Moses moment of impossible edges, or a David night of honest grief, or a disciple's storm of rising water. Whatever chapter this is, it is not outside the story. It is the story, and the author has not put down the pen. His word is still here, in every chapter, on every page, in every season that felt like an ending, but turned out to be a turning point. And so are you, still here, still in living, still in the boat. That means something. Let it mean something tonight as we move toward the end of this hour together. We are near the end now. And I don't want to fill this last part with too many words. You've received enough tonight, more than enough. So I just want to walk slowly to the door with you. The way you walk with someone at the end of a long evening, not rushing, not summarizing, just present for a few more minutes before the quiet takes over completely. You came here tonight carrying something. Maybe you knew exactly what it was. Maybe it was shapeless, just a heaviness you couldn't name. Either way, you brought it here, and you sat with it inside these stories, inside this psalm, inside this hour. And something happened. I can't tell you exactly what. It's different for every person. But something always shifts when we stop long enough to let the old words land. When we stop performing our faith and just receive it for a moment. Like a cup being filled, quietly, without fanfare, just filled. Abraham didn't know how the story ended when he was living it.
Neither did Moses, neither did David, neither did those 12 men in the boat, gripping the sides, water pouring in, watching Jesus sleep. They only knew what they knew in the moment they were standing in. And what they had, what carried them through every impossible chapter, was not certainty, it was presence. The knowledge, sometimes felt, and sometimes simply chosen, that they were not alone in it. That is what you have tonight. Not all the answers. Not a guarantee that tomorrow will be easier than today. Not a promise that the storm will pass before morning. But presence. Real, quiet, unshakable presence. The same presence that was in the boat. The same presence that parted the water. The same presence that sat with David in the dark and received every broken, honest word he had. That presence is in this room tonight. And I want to say one more thing before I let you go. The fact that you are still here, still seeking, still turning towards something larger than your own worry, still willing to sit in the quiet and listen, that is not nothing. That is not a small thing. In a world that moves faster every year, in a season of life that asks more than it gives back, the act of stopping and being still is almost countercultural. And you did it tonight. So let the stories rest in you now. Don't analyze them. Don't try to figure out which one applies most to your situation. Don't turn this into homework. Just let them be there. Like stones in a riverbed, worn smooth, settled deep, holding something in place without any effort at all. The Word does its own work. You don't have to help it. His Word is still here. It was here before tonight. It will be here tomorrow. It has been here through every generation of tired, hopeful, broken, faithful people who needed exactly what you needed tonight. A story to hold on to. A psalm to breathe inside of. A voice in the storm that says, "Peace, be still," and means it. And so are you, still here, and that, quietly, is the whole miracle. Before you close your eyes tonight, if this hour has meant something to you, if something landed, if something shifted, even slightly, I'd love for you to leave a comment. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be profound. Just tell me what you needed to hear tonight. Or tell me what you'd like us to sit with next time. Your words help this place grow into exactly what it needs to be. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Come back tomorrow night, and the night after, This is here for you always. Now, let everything go. The day is done. The stories have been told. The psalm has been read. And somewhere, in a boat on a quiet sea, the storm has already ceased. Peace, be still. That's for you. Sleep well.